Welcome to App Stories, a weekly exploration of the world of apps. Today's show is brought to you by Linode and FreshBooks. I'm John Voorhees, and with me is Federico Viticci. Hi, Federico.
Hello, John. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. It's, I'm still kind of, I think, in this weird recovery mode of our busy fall, but we've been playing around with our new toys a lot over the past couple of weeks. And I feel like I'm just starting to really get a sense for both what the new phones can do, because I've been taking a lot of pictures. I was in Chicago yesterday taking a lot of photographs, and also what the watch can do. And so I thought today that we ought to talk a little bit about the Series 4 Apple Watch and the apps we've been using, the complications we've been using, the new watch faces, all that sort of thing. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, especially because on the Series 4, getting the new watch faces and the exclusive complications, even though that sort of opens the door to a discussion about the Apple Watch as a platform, is getting fragmented between models, between different series of the Apple Watch line. But that's another discussion. I think it's pretty cool that we can now experiment with apps, adding all of these new complications and these new features. Why don't you start and tell me what is your daily, I don't know if it's your daily watch face, but the one that you're using the most on the Series 4?
All right. Well, so far I've been using the Infograph one the most because I just wanted to try out the new watch faces. So I've been switching back and forth between Infograph and Infograph Modular. And I don't know about you, but I've found Infograph, I like it, but it's also very hard to figure out exactly what the right balance of complications are. And I don't think I'm quite there yet. I'm getting there. And so I thought, we can go through what we're each using. And I thought I can start with the corners maybe. And in the upper left-hand corner, I've got the temperature. This is the weather, I guess. This is the standard Apple one that shows kind of the bar graph of the low to the high with the current temperature in it, which I like. I like the fact that it gives me the high and low because you get up in the morning, you can say, all right, well, it's, now it's whatever, and it's going to be a hot day today, and get a sense for where you are in the course of a day, which I like. And then in the upper right, I've got one that I stole from you, I guess, because I think you had a reader, someone on Twitter told you about Better Days, which is a calendar iPhone app that's really, a shell for a bunch of different complications you can use. And I put that in the upper right, which gives me the day and the date, which you can't do otherwise on the Infograph watch face, which to me is kind of bananas.
Yeah, I was looking for the date complication and I couldn't find it, so I just put out a call on Twitter, and somebody replied with this utility that seriously does the job very well. You open the iPhone app and you can configure a bunch of different complications for different faces. Yep. I used is it Better Day or Better Days? Anyway, I used it for a couple of days, and Fantastical actually came out last week with an update, and the update adds a bunch of complications, and one of them is support for weekday and date in the small complication. So I replaced, for a bunch of reasons, actually, I think I'm working, I want to do an article on Mac Stories about the different ways that I'm using Fantastical in combination with reminders because of the notifications that the update also added. So I basically swapped Better Day for Fantastical, and it also works well because it shows me the date in the bottom left corner. But yeah, Better Day, really, really useful utility. And by the way, John, I just thought that all these watch faces that we're talking about, they should be the chapter art in the show. So if people are listening, in the background, and if you want to take a look at the complications that we have, you can open your podcast player. You can open Overcast or Castro or even Apple Podcasts, because in iOS 12 they support chapters with custom art. So you can open and take a look at the artwork, and you will see our complication setup and our watch face setup for all the watch faces that we're going to cover.
Yeah, that's a good idea. You'll have to send me your screenshots.
I will send you screenshots, and I will put the Apple Watch screenshots into pretty device frames because I'm updating my short. I was about to say workflow. I'm updating my shortcut for Apple Watch, for old iPhones, and for the MacBook Pro. So
Excellent. Excellent. I was doing really well with not calling shortcuts workflows until like 2 days ago. And then all of a sudden I started calling them workflows again. And it drives me a
I know.
little crazy.
Anyway,
All right.
back on track.
Those,
Yeah.
yeah, those are the top two corners. The bottom two corners are workout fitness related. So I have on the lower left, I've got the workout app from Apple and the activity rings. And those are just, I like having the workout one there more than anything else, just so that if I walk out of the house, even if I'm just going for a nice long walk, very quick to start it up. So those are the two I have down at the bottom. In the middle, I've got four. At the top, I've got the digital time, which I'm not sure if I'm going to keep that or not. It's kind of nice to have the digital time there because I don't really like telling the time with the hands. But the hands also get in the way of the digital time, like right now while we're recording, and then it's very hard to read it. And I've got Jennifer in there so I can send off a quick text message to her. I've got Pedometer Plus Plus, which is another one which I'm not sure if I'm going to keep there or not, just because I feel like I've kind of got that covered with the activity rings to some degree. But I do like what David Smith has done with his watch app, so it's nice to be able to get into that quickly. And then finally, I have Drafts. And Drafts is my new, I think, favorite complication because it's very easy when you're out and about, especially if you don't have your phone with you, just to tap it and you can set it up so it immediately gets the microphone going and you can start dictating into it and it turns it into text. Now, it doesn't always do a perfect job, especially if I'm out running and I'm huffing and puffing, but that's more on me than it is on Drafts. But what it does is I've got it so it's set up so that it immediately starts recording and that it tags those notes specifically with watch so that when I'm back home and looking at my iOS devices, I can just go through this list of thoughts I had while I was out, whether they're things I have to do later in the day or projects I want to work on or things I need to call somebody about or, just anything, the kind of things that come to you while you're standing in the shower or out on a walk and it's not convenient to write something down or even pull out your phone. Having that Drafts complication there to quickly record an audio note that's turned into text and then synced everywhere is fantastic. This episode of App Stories is brought to you by Linode. With Linode, you'll have access to a suite of powerful hosting options with prices starting at just $5 per month. And you'll be up and running with your own virtual server in the Linode cloud in under a minute. Linode has hundreds of thousands of customers who are all serviced by their 24/7 support team. You can email them, call them, or even chat over IRC in the Linode community. They know how important it is for you to get the help you want. And they also have a suite of amazing guides and support documentation to give you a reference when you need it. Linode's intuitive control panel will also let you deploy, boot, resize, snapshot, and clone your virtual servers in just a few clicks. And they feature two-factor authentication to keep you safe. On top of that, Linode guarantees 99.9% uptime for server availability. Once your server is up, they keep it that way. Linode offers additional storage too. Block storage is now out of beta and available in Fremont and Newark. So, what can you use Linode for? The answer is a ton of different things. You can host a large database, run a mail server, operate a VPN, run Docker containers, host private Git servers. The list just keeps going on and on. And Linode is hiring right now. If that's something that interests you, go straight to linode.com/careers to learn more. Okay, so Linode has fantastic pricing options available too. Their plans start at 1 gigabyte of RAM for just $5 a month, and they offer high memory plans starting at 16 gigabytes of RAM. As a listener of this show, you can sign up at linode.com/appstories, and you'll not only be supporting this show, but you'll get $20 towards any Linode plan. That's a great deal. That means on the 1 gigabyte of RAM plan, it's like 4 free months. And with a 7-day money-back guarantee, there's nothing to lose. So go to linode.com/appstories right away to learn more, sign up, and take advantage of that $20 credit. Or use the promo code AppStories2018 at checkout. Thanks so much to Linode for supporting the show.
So the The Infograph watch face has also been my primary one over the past couple of weeks. Even though I've been playing with the Siri face again because of a bunch of new apps that I'm testing, and they have Siri watch face integration, so I'm kind of torn between them at the moment. But I would say that the Infograph one is still the one that I want to use right now because it feels new, it looks new, and I like it. I like the way that it looks. So let's start with the complications that I use. In the top left corner, I keep the word clock for New York because I work with a bunch of people who live in the United States. So it's useful for me to have a baseline of the US time zone. So I can, once I know what time is in New York, I just need to subtract like an extra hour for you and
Right.
3 hours for California. So, I can know what the Apple time is. Top right corner, I have Carrot Weather. I wanted to use Weather by Apple, but Carrot allows me to have Weather Underground as a data provider, which I find to be more accurate for my area in Rome. I mentioned this on Connected, or maybe here, but the random person that used to make available a crowdsourced weather station at the end of my street recently closed the weather station. The weather
Oh
station is
no.
the weather station I've been anonymously using for the past 4 years has disappeared from the map. So that was very sad.
So what are you using now? Are you using just one that's somewhere nearby?
Somewhere else, it's like 5 minutes away, but still accurate, of course, because it's basically the same area.
You need to set up your own.
I need to set up my own, but also I remember when I looked, it was like a whole thing of like the ideal setup for a weather station and a bunch of equipment to buy.
No. All you need is one of those Netatmo things, which are.
But is it accurate enough? That's my question.
It is. I found it to be pretty accurate, and you can. It's very easy to set up as a weather underground point. And the reason I think it's accurate is because when you look in their app and you see the map of all the temperatures, you can see all the other Netatmo weather stations around the area, and you can get a sense for whether they're way off or not. So, like if you had that and you had the little sensor sitting out on your balcony, not in the sun or anything, but out on your balcony, it would probably work really well, I think.
And it
You
does.
ought to think about it.
It does forecasts.
It's really they have a rain gauge you can get and a wind speed thing you can get, but this is really just a temperature. It's really just temperature. The forecast part of it is from, I guess, Weather Underground. Whatever it is for your area.
We'll see. In the middle, I have the digital time at the top because while I like the look of the classic hands, I am not able to read them quickly. So the digital time helps. And the 3 circular complications in the middle, I have music, so I can quickly open Apple Music and start one of my playlists or albums. I have a shortcut to text or call Silvia, so tiny photo of Silvia on my watch face, which is very nice. And I have in the middle the complication for Good Task, which is my task manager based on reminders.
My picture of Jennifer on my watch face is from her standing in Rome.
Oh, nice.
Yes, from a trip a few years ago, before
Nice.
the one that you and I got together. But
Oh, that's okay. All right. That's very cool. Yeah, I keep Good Task in the middle, and I found that it's nice that you can go into the Good Task preferences on the iPhone and choose the list of reminders that you're going to see when you open the watch app. So you can
oh, that is nice.
Yeah, you can customize the list that will be loaded by default when you open when you tap on the complication. So I have all my overdue tasks and the tasks that are due today. So everything is in one big group, which is the same default view that I have on my phone. So that's nice.
Yeah, I do like that. I like the fact that you can customize it because that not all task managers do that. Sometimes they just give you like whatever your today tasks are, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. You've given me yet another reason to try a Good Task.
On the bottom left corner, as I mentioned, I had Better Day, but I've since switched that with Fantastical with the new version. Right. And in the bottom right corner, I have Activity, so I can keep an eye on my rings. This would be the watch face that I use the most on a daily basis. But let me add that Infograph, I also use the modular version as my fitness and activity watch face. So whenever I'm working out, whenever I'm about to work out, I switched to the Infograph Modular phase for a couple of reasons. Toward the bottom, there's a row of circular complications, and those are
Right.
shortcuts for basically they are launchers for things that I need to have readily available when I'm about to work out. So there's the workout complication, which opens the workout app. In the middle, there's music for when I want to listen to music. And in the bottom right, there's the heart rate app, which allows me to first, before I work out, I can check that the watch is connected to the external sensor. So I can open the workout app and it launches to the real-time heart rate. And I can look under the watch on my wrist. And if it's not lighting up, if it's not green, it means that it's reading data from the sensor, so that the built-in sensor doesn't light up. Therefore, the watch is connected to the Polar H10.
Is there anywhere where you can actually look and see, like,
Yeah.
for instance, if you're connecting for music, you can see what device you're connected to, whether it's headphones or a HomePod or whatever. Can you do that with heart rate sensors?
You need to go into settings Bluetooth, and you will see a section that's called health devices, and you will see your sensors there. In the middle of the Infograph Modular phase, I have activity. This is a full-blown graph of your activity data during the course of the day. So you get bars for move hours and exercise. Actually, for move, what's the unit? Move points.
Active calories or something?
Active calories, yeah.
I think that's what they call it.
You have exercise minutes and you have stand hours at the bottom as tiny dots, which I find it's a nice view. And in the top left, I have the Overcast complication right next to the time and date. I'm using Overcast to listen to podcasts since the Overcast 5 update. I'm kind of jealous of the fact that the Apple Podcasts app supports streaming on watch over cellular.
Yeah.
But I have two problems with Apple Podcasts now. First of all, I hate the fact that I like it so much on the HomePod. Like, it's really nice. It's really nice to have podcast integration on the HomePod. But at the same time, I prefer the way that podcasts sound in Overcast, especially because of not smart speakers, voice boost. Sorry.
Voice boost, okay.
They just sound louder, and I prefer that when I'm listening on the AirPods, especially because my indoor bike is very loud, and I should actually change it. But I prefer the way that they sound in Overcast. They're louder and they're easier to listen to. Also, podcasts, it doesn't allow me to have actual playlists. I know that it supports stations, but what I want is the queue feature of Overcast. So I'm using Overcast. I'm kind of torn between Overcast and podcasts, so we'll see what happens. But this is the watch face that I use for like 45 minutes a day when I'm working out.
Okay. I mean, what I would say about Overcast is I was skeptical when I first tried it, that I thought perhaps I'd be unhappy that it doesn't stream. And then I realized it does such a good job of grabbing my most listened to shows, I think I have it set up to just download 10 because, I mean, I usually use that when I go out to exercise and I leave my phone at home. So I don't even need 10. I mean, all I need is like 2, really, because so many of the shows I listen to are more than a half an hour or so. And so if I have just 2 or 3, I'm totally set, as long as they're the 2 or 3 that I want. And the good thing about having 10 is that of those 10, there's always going to be one or two that I want to listen to right now. So I've been pretty happy with that. And although Overcast doesn't support AirPlay 2 yet, the delay is not that bad when you play it on the HomePod. I was just listening to Cortex today over lunch, and it would definitely be better with AirPlay 2, but it's really not that bad with old AirPlay.
Yeah, it used to be worse during the iOS 12 betas. It got much better with the final version.
That's true. I noticed that too.
Yeah.
This episode of App Stories is brought to you by FreshBooks. To all the freelancers out there, you know how important it is to make smart decisions about your business. Our friends at FreshBooks can save you up to 192 hours with their cloud accounting software for freelancers that's ridiculously easy to use. Here's how they do it. By simplifying tasks like invoicing, tracking expenses, and getting paid online, FreshBooks has drastically reduced the time it takes for over 10 million people to deal with their paperwork. I want to talk to you a little bit about invoicing. Yeah, it's a chore and it's a pain, but invoicing is essential. Without invoicing, you don't have a business because you don't get paid. As simple as that is, it's still neglected by too many people. That's why you want to use FreshBooks. It takes the pain and guesswork out of invoicing. An invoice is super simple to set up and send to a client. And then, best of all, you can tell when someone has actually opened your invoice. If it hasn't been opened, maybe you need to follow up. It's great. The other nice thing is that FreshBooks can do the follow-up for you. You send the invoice, and FreshBooks can send out an automatic reminder if you don't get paid on time. It eliminates the need to set reminders for yourself and set aside time when you should be working to be sending out reminders. So, if you're listening to this and not using FreshBooks yet, now is the time to try it. FreshBooks is offering an unrestricted 30-day free trial for listeners of this show. No credit card is required, so sign up today. All you have to do is go to freshbooks.com/appstories and enter App Stories in the How Did You Hear About Us section. That's freshbooks.com/App Stories and enter App Stories in the How Did You Hear About Us section. Thanks again to FreshBooks for supporting the show.
All right. So what else do you use?
So yeah, I use Infograph Modular too, and what I haven't really, I think, figured out exactly yet what I want to do is exactly how I want the Infograph and the Infograph Modular to be different, because there's a lot of overlap here, so I'm not going to go over the same ones, but I've got drafts again in that slot that's across from the time and the date. And then in the middle right now, I have the heart rate one, which shows you your current heart rate as well, how long ago it was read, and then a little graph of your heart rate throughout the day. I'm not sure I'm going to keep that there. I don't know. It's kind of interesting, but it's not information that I really need there. And then along the bottom, I've got overcast, activity rings, and workout. So it's kind of my workout face, but but I've got some of that in the other infograph face as well. And I feel like if I'm going to switch between them, I want them to be a little more different than they are right now. And I'm thinking that this modular one does work a little better as the workout one in a lot of ways. And maybe I'll do something similar to yours, but I'm going to keep drafts on there for sure because I just like having that handy wherever I am.
Mm-hmm. Do you use the Siri face or any other watch faces?
I use Siri a little bit, but I haven't had very good experience with third-party apps showing up there. For the longest time, the only app that would show up there was Carrot Weather, which is great.
Yes.
I like Carrot Weather a lot, but there are a lot of apps that are supposed to show up there that don't. Although I just noticed in the last couple of days that Things has started to show up there too. And I like that. So, yes, I've been using it, but not a lot. How about you?
I've been using it more lately because I've been able to have more of my apps in there.
Uh-huh.
So what I like is that I've been using Water Minder again. Actually, I've been using ever since I started working out every day again after the summer. I've been trying to follow a stricter diet, especially over the past few days. And so I kind of started playing around again with LifeSum, the food tracking app. And I gotta tell you that compared to a few years ago, like I was using LifeSum 4 years ago, and it got so much better. Like design-wise, is one of the best iPhone apps I've seen. Like,
oh really?
It looks really, really nice, and it's full of these animations, and the UI has a bunch of elements toward the bottom of the screen, so it's even comfortable to use on a big phone. And it looks beautiful and it's really elegant. But also like the barcode scanning thing, the food database is so much better than a few years ago.
Oh, interesting.
And also they have a feature now where you can take a photo of something you're eating, and I don't know if it's some kind of machine learning or stuff like that, but they try to guess what it is. So I haven't tried this with more complex meals. Like I haven't tried this with a carbonara dinner, for example, but I've taken a picture of a banana the other day and I was like, I was eating a banana and then I realized maybe I should add this as a snack. But I
Uh
didn't want to search because I was holding a banana in one
huh.
hand and
Right.
the phone with the other. So I didn't want to type. So I just took a picture of the banana and it said, "Is this a banana?" I was like, "Yeah." So it's
Well, that's
it's
cool.
really convenient for this kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
I've been using that combined with, so because I'm tracking my food, it means I want to track other aspects of what I of my calorie intake. And so I've been using Recaf to track caffeine. I created custom shortcuts for single shots of espresso, double shots, and all that. And then I realized, well, maybe I should actually try and be more precise about hydration and water intake as well. And so, of course, I installed again Water Reminder that I used to use a few years ago. And Water Reminder shows up on the Siri face. And in fact, all of your I created custom shortcuts for different type of entries. Like I have an entry for when I drink a single glass of water, but also I have a shortcut for two if I drink like 2 glasses of water at once.
Mm-hmm.
Or I have a shortcut for when I drink like a half a bottle of water, like half a liter of water. So all of these shortcuts show up on the Siri face, which is really convenient because I can tap on it and the little card expands into the full Water Reminder app, and you just need to do add. It goes into your water database, and basically everything that I add, so the food from LifeSum and the caffeine from Recaf and the water from Water Reminder, is in the health app on the iPhone. So everything's in there. If I can issue a small complaint about LifeSum,
Sure.
you allow me to do this. You
Yes.
can log glasses of water from LifeSum, and they
Right.
sync back to HealthKit. But if you add entries to HealthKit, either directly with the Health app or with utilities like Water Reminder, they do not sync back into LifeSum. So LifeSum can
Oh,
only write data for hydration to HealthKit. It cannot update with data coming from other apps that's still saved into HealthKit. So
that
that's
feels like one of those big company corporate policies. We don't want anybody using any other
yeah. I
apps
don't
other
know.
than
Yeah,
ours.
I don't know.
No,
Yeah,
it's interesting to hear about LifeSum though from you because it's been a couple of years since I've used it too,
yeah.
and it was always a good app. But I'm curious how it's changed since then. I always fall off the wagon tracking that
Oh,
stuff
me
because
too.
it's so tedious.
It's tedious and it's stressful. But what I think is the best approach for this stuff is to do it like not religiously, so that you go insane. Like I'm
Right.
gonna go out for dinner tomorrow. I'm not going to take pictures of stuff at the table. Like, don't
Right.
stress about
Excuse
it.
me while I take a picture of my
Exactly. Or
carbonara.
like, I'm sorry, waiter, can you tell me the brand of this tomato so that I can search for it in the database? Like, I'm not gonna do that.
Right. Can I
Um,
go in the kitchen and scan the
can I?
barcodes on your tomatoes and your
I'm not gonna do that. And also, I think it's best to do this stuff for like short periods of time. Like
Right.
if you're testing a new diet or if you want to get back on track, if you need like a little push at the beginning, you can do it for like a month and then you can stop doing it. Like
Yeah.
I think it's useful to do it for like short periods of time, to maybe if you want to confirm a trend, maybe you have a feeling that you eat too many carbs and you want to have an application support that theory. You can maybe try this stuff for a couple of weeks or for a month and see, well, yeah, it turns out that I am eating too much pasta. So
Yeah.
don't do it forever. It would be my recommendation.
Yeah. No, I think that's a healthy
Unless, I
approach
mean,
to
of
it.
course, there's people that need to do this stuff forever because they have like conditions or because they like to do so. I mean, I do not object to that. I totally understand. But I also, I guess that the majority of people that I talk to are like, yeah, I always stop doing it after a while because it's serious and I don't want to do it, which is fine. All I'm saying is that it's fine to just do it for a while.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. All right. So, Federico, should we go through real quickly about what's in our doc?
Yes, please tell me what's in your doc.
All right. Let me start. So, my doc is kind of split in terms of function. So, the first few are heart rate, activity, workout, and, well, I guess those are the fitness ones: heart rate, activity, and workout. Then it goes to what I'm listening to. It's now playing in music. Then I have alarms and timers because I like to get to those quickly because I usually set. I don't always have an alarm set for like getting up in the morning or something like that, but I do like to set them once in a while. And timers for when I'm doing things around the house that require a timer. Messages, because I find the Apple Watch actually to be a very handy way to send text messages, because doing the dictation, the voice recognition is really good. And I mean, I sent you one the other day when I was out for a run, and Apple did a press release while I was halfway through, which was kind of irritating.
I had no idea that was coming from the watch. So
yeah, there was, and I think it got it 100% right. But I was out jogging along, and Apple did a press release. And let me just put one little complaint, put a pin in a complaint, which is Slack does not have good notifications on the watch.
no,
Because
yeah.
I got a notification said Apple press release, and there's no way to go into it and see the link or see what it is. The only reason I knew what it was because Mike Hurley had then texted me, and he had posted a link, so I knew it was about emoji. But anyway, and then the last two are drafts and home. And I think I'm going to drop the home one, because home is, if you have more than a couple of HomeKit devices, home is pretty useless on the watch, because you have to scroll so much to find what you're looking for, and everything looks the same. But sometimes, like if you're in bed and you want to shut off the light, maybe your phone is over there on the charger, or you left it in another room, or whatever it is. That's kind of a nice way to shut off the light. But I found that it's a lot easier to do it another way, because having to scroll through the list and find, bedroom lamp is too hard.
Yeah, it's not a good app. I stopped using it on the watch because it's so tedious to use and slow to use. My dock, let's see, I have activity for, again, fast access to check the rings on a daily basis. Now playing, followed by Overcast. I'm, again, not sure if I'm going to keep Overcast, but Now Playing I do like as a universal audio control system on the watch. I have Carrot Weather, of course, because I like to check the forecast, especially now that we're going to the dog park every day for like an hour. I find it very convenient to have an hourly forecast, so I know, is it going to rain or not. That's really convenient. I have reminders. I use reminders right there because I like knowing that I have the Apple native app that's going to get updates about new reminders that I add from the HomePod or from other devices faster than anything else, because it's a native app, it's a system app. So if I add something from my iPad or from the HomePod in the kitchen, it just shows up on reminders on the watch because it syncs faster than Good Task or Fantastical. I have a beta from Aaron Pierce. Is the maker of HomeCam, the excellent HomeKit camera app for iOS. Home Run is a new app he's working on for triggering HomeKit scenes on the watch. Is really good. I hope that he releases it eventually. You should check his Twitter. There's an open, one of those new test flight links. I think there's a beta you can sign up for.
Yep, I signed up for it, and I love those links.
Yeah. Of course, I have heart rate. I should probably move it up the list because, I mix it. I actually use this quite a bit, so it should probably be closer to activity. And finally, Good Task. Not sure if I want to keep Good Task in here, given that I have a complication. I'm not happy with the current situation of my dock, so we should probably do some follow-up in the near future once I figure this all out.
Yeah, we should, because I'm not super happy with mine either, because there's a lot of duplication here in my list as well with things that I have as complications. And I feel like complications and the dock and that sort of thing really should work together in a way that works for all the different apps that you use, and kind of prioritizes what you want the most on the faces, but then easy access to other things that are kind of maybe your secondary stuff in the dock.
So I mentioned Overcast, Good Task, HomeCam, Fantastical, and Waterminder. These are all apps that I'm testing on the watch. HomeCam is really good to see a live stream of HomeKit cameras on the tiny Apple Watch screen. I also, again, I mentioned the Live Sum, but I want to highlight the fact that Live Sum on the watch now supports the Series 4 and the new complications for the Infograph stuff, and the Apple Watch app seems really nice. I haven't spent a lot of time with it yet, but I plan on exploring what I can do with the complications. Maybe it could be a complication on the health and activity face that I have. So we'll
Mm-hmm.
see. We'll see. We'll do another episode on with some follow up on our Apple Watch setup. Is there any other watch app that you want to mention, John?
Yeah, I guess I would just mention a couple that we haven't covered already, or that at least I haven't covered. One is Recaf, which you mentioned, and I've been using that as well and testing that out, and I like it a lot. It's really cool. There's so many ways to track your caffeine with it, whether it's Siri shortcuts or the watch or in the app. I mean, it does what I think any tracking app has to do, and it does exceptionally well, which is lower the barrier to getting the stuff tracked, because it's always that friction that keeps you from actually tracking it. And with Recaf, it's super easy to track in a variety of different ways. And then the other one, which I really just put on my watch today, is Daily Dictionary from Benjamin Mayo. And I've really liked that app. It gives you a word a day, and I like getting the notification in the morning that tells me, here's your word and here's what it means. I've kind of liked that. And I thought, that might be kind of a neat thing to put on a complication and just tap it when I've got 2 seconds of idle time and want to see what the word is. So I've put it on my watch, and I'm going to put it into one of my complications and see how it goes.
All right. I think that's about it. And we should do some follow up in the near future. But in the meantime, these are all the watch faces we're playing with, and these are the apps that we've been testing. It's been nice to see developer adoption of all these new complications,
Yes.
and all these new WatchOS 5 features. I was kind of sort of losing hope in terms of like the developer community and Apple Watch apps, but it seems like the release of WatchOS 5 and the Series 4 watch and the new watch faces sort of sparked things up again, which is nice to see.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think, too, if you're an Apple Watch owner and if you've been using an Apple Watch since the Series 0, it pays to go in and check out what the Apple Watch can do now. Because I know one thing, that the trap that I've fallen into in the past is that I got to the point with the early Apple Watches where it's like, I'm just going to use this to track my fitness and get notifications, because so many of the apps took so long to load and do anything useful that it was easier just to grab my phone. That's not as true anymore. I mean, there's so much more that you can accomplish on the Apple Watch than in the past, that I like to kind of bring in a new set of apps every now and then, try them out, and see what sticks. And that's kind of what we're in the process of doing. And I think it's a good idea. Maybe we'll talk about it again and see what has kind of stuck with both of us down the road.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Federico. Well, that's enough for today. We'll have pictures in the show notes for all of our Apple Watch faces that we've used. Thanks again to our sponsors, Linode and FreshBooks. And you can find Federico and me writing over at Mac Stories. That's macstories.net. Federico's on Twitter. He's at Viticci. That's VITICCI. And I'm at John Voorhees, JOHN VOORHWS. Talk to you next week, Federico.
Ciao, John.